meeting just tonight. One is a presentation by Al Sparrow, Commissioner of Housing, and then a presentation by Marlena Valenta on the energy plan. And finally, a vote on an update to the Title VI plan. And with that, I will go through the list and please indicate when I call it down whether you're here or not, starting with Grand City Youth. And then Alberg Town. Nobody from Alberg Village, Bakersfield.
Bill Irwin from Bakersfield.
Thank you, sorry, back.
And Linda is also.
Okay. Berkshire. Enosburg Falls. Enosburg Town. What's a lot of crickets chirping? Fairfax. Right?
Oh, Barbara, sorry.
Fairfield. Fletcher.
Lori Ruppel. Michelle Brennan.
Franklin.
Live on and work. And
Georgia.
Doug Bergstrom.
Grand Isle.
Mark Wade Morris.
Howard Demise.
Highgate.
Jack Coffey.
Montgomery. North Hero.
Andy Allen.
Richford. Sheldon.
Matt Stebbins.
South Hero.
Bob Drummond.
Peter Seymour. St. Albans City.
Elizabeth Nance.
St. Albans Town.
Marietta Schulten.
Jonathan Giroux.
Quantum Town.
Nick Brusto, Swanton Town.
Quantum Village. And staff.
Damon Broderick, Swanton Village.
Swanton Village.
The Swanton Village folks just need to jump in.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, too fast here. So have all the staff announcements done?
Marlena Valenta, Energy and Climate Planner.
Kyle Brenner, Transportation Planner.
Nora Regional Planner. And Catherine Commissioner Director.
Greta Brunswick, Senior Planner.
Okay. Any extended shows?
Not tonight.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to comment? Hearing none, then we'll turn to our speaker, Alex Farrell, who has a wealth of experience in housing in the state of Vermont as the Commissioner of the Department of Housing and Community Development. And he's also worked for a number of other housing entities and worked on several related nonprofits. And he was born, raised, and lives in the southern edge of Northwest Vermont. And that, welcome for coming. Thank you very much.
I don't know where you dug up all that information about me, but.
I had to work at it.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thanks. Appreciate you all having me. Really excited to be up here. I was here at Town Hall. I think it was right before town meeting day, giving a little talk about CHIP, a new program to offer financing for infrastructure for housing. So nice to be right back up here talking housing again. Franklin County and Grand Isle County have soft spot in my heart. Growing up, my dad had a store on the other side of town on Sheldon Road, and my dad lived in Albert when I was growing up. So, but where are the Albert people? What's going on?
That usually comes
It's all Albert.
after the grocery bed.
Yeah. That's Well, good. Well, thanks, everybody. I figure I'll touch on a few things that we're up to at the department, and then happy to just open it up to general discussion if folks want to talk about what happened during the legislative session. Obviously, there were a lot of headlines about what was happening in land use. More than happy to touch on any of that, if folks are interested. And if folks want to, dive into any more detail about programs that I mentioned here, please feel free to ask me a question. I'll do my best to keep an eye on the screens here. Folks online, is my volume okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, but we can't see you.
Can't see me. Is there anywhere that I'd be better positioned?
Maybe
Whatever.
is Al catching up here? Is Al catching here?
That's the blind spot for the office. But I can fix that.
Okay. All right, I'll come up, I'll come sit next to Peter and then we'll. All right.
It has an ignore space on it, so it doesn't take up our.
It's welcome to ignore me then. By the way, your daughter Laura's a good friend of mine. Nice to meet you, sir. All right,
Thank
so.
you.
Yeah, better.
Yes.
Yeah, disappointed. The face isn't that pretty. Sorry. So we, at the department, we've been up to a lot of work to expand the universe of who's doing development in Vermont. And I'd say this started a few years ago with the development of a program that I hope some folks in here have heard of, the Vermont Housing Improvement Program, VHIP. Any folks familiar with VHIP? A couple nodding heads. So in the early days of the pandemic, with the influx of federal money, we knew that we would have an opportunity to try some different ways of funding housing development in the state of Vermont. And that it really meant that we didn't have to compete in the way that we always did during the budgeting process, which, you can develop some sharp elbows in the budgeting process. It can be a very fixed pie mentality. And in affordable housing, there are some well-established and really important players who care very much about their funding and are always very cautious about seeing new entrants. But the influx of federal money gave us the opportunity as a state to say, let's try a few different things on a pilot basis. So that gave us the opportunity to try what eventually became the Vermont Housing Improvement Program. And so what this program does is it's a different model of funding housing development where you don't have to be one of these established nonprofits. You don't have to go through these traditional networks. Any property owner who's willing to sign on to the terms of this program, which generally mean you have to offer housing for folks exiting homelessness for 5 years, or offer rents that are affordable for 10 years. And the affordable, by the way, are especially favorable if you're in Franklin County. So generally, loose terms, it's a unit generation program. It's low dollar grants, but it targets rental units that have fallen into disrepair or need code upgrades to get back into the stock. Or if you've got a big farmhouse or a Victorian that 4 or 5 bedrooms, but might be better as 2 or 3 apartments, you can use it for that. So it's grants of $30,000 or $50,000, depending on the size of the units. So this started an expanded universe of folks investing in and building units in Vermont. And what this turned into for us was exposure to a whole universe of folks who wouldn't have been small scale developers and sure wouldn't have been developers of so-called affordable housing if it hadn't been for this program. But we also learned that these VHIP grants, $40,000 per unit, but maybe $100,000 that were getting units in line, they were acting as a catalyst that were turning some of these small scale developers or guys that hadn't been developers before or ladies, they were becoming developers. And so we wanted to tap into that. So we asked some of these folks that now had become developers because of VHIP, what was your path to becoming a developer? What was difficult? As a result of some of those conversations, back in 2023, we released what we call the Homes for All Toolkit. Anyone here heard about this toolkit? It's okay if you haven't. Oh, good, nodding heads on the screen. The Homes for All Toolkit was the launch of a broader, what's become our Homes for All initiative. But the toolkit was basically a textbook It's not too thick, it's a blue book, you can also just get a PDF version for free online. And what it is it's a guide for if you want to be a small scale developer, think ADU up to 4 or 5 units. This is how you do it, it's how you develop a pro forma, this is how you, if you're gonna act as your own GC, here's how you form a team, here's how you go get permits from your town. Here's what designs could look like that would fit in the Vermont vernacular, look like our neighborhoods look like. So it walks through that whole process. That got such a great response from folks who said, yeah, I want to be a developer. I'm a plumber, or I'm a carpenter, or I work in the trades. I could do this if I knew how to be a developer, and this taught me how. That we decided to take it a step further. So I'm gonna talk about 2 other phases of the Homes for All initiative that are underway now. I don't think I've got enough handouts for everybody, but I'm gonna pass something around. So phase 2 of the Homes for All initiative is now underway. It's what we're calling our small scale developer trainings. So we took that toolkit and we worked with a national vendor to develop curriculum, come in, teach courses, and we are now offering full day workshops for folks who want to learn how to do this. What are the steps you take to become a developer? What are the resources? What does financing look like? And if you get through that full day workshop, start passing around the workshop. There are a few over here. And then pass a few down here. Hopefully it can stretch a little ways. If you get through that workshop and you think, well, that was great, this is something I can actually do. We offer Small Scale Developer Academy. So this takes it a step further. Once you've gone through your prereq here, you can learn even more by specific courses. Could be about financing, could be about the construction process, could be about rehabilitation or reuse. And take that to the next level and end up with, your own sort of certificate, so to speak, at the end of this. The goal here really is to just expand the universe of who's doing development in Vermont. Because it's a question that keeps coming up, is there's only so many people doing this work. How can we train that new generation of developers, and recognizing that there's a need for that smaller scale developers? Folks on the screen after this, what I'll do is I'll send these to Catherine and she'll email these out to everybody. So if you're here and you don't get a copy, I'll make sure you get the links by email. So this is underway right now. We've got the next all-day workshop that's going to be relatively close to you all. It's going to be in Linden in September. The academy, I hope you don't drive to Brattleboro, but Ken, if you want.
It's almost as close as Linden.
Well, yeah, sure.
It's a toss.
That's a pretty good drive either way. We'll each drive one and see who goes faster. The academy one just started yesterday, but we've got some more starting in July and then again in October. With either of these, even if you can't make it to a workshop, just reach out to us if you're interested, or you know someone, you've got a friend, son, daughter, nephew, niece that might be interested. Just go ahead and reach out. I'll hand around my 2 copies as well. I guess I don't need any. Anybody down there want?
I think everybody's pretty good.
Okay, good. So that's phase 2 of what we're calling this Homes for All initiative. Now, I mentioned that in the toolkit, that was phase 1. The toolkit included some sample designs. These designs weren't full construction plans, they didn't have schematics, but they were to give folks an idea of what are some different types of designs for ADUs up to 4 units that you could build, especially on tight lots. A lot of times in Vermont, we have some smaller lots or awkward sized lots. That got a great response as well. So we are in the middle of our 3rd phase, which is called 802 Homes. Folks here familiar with the old Sears catalog homes? It's building off of that concept. So the state of Vermont, through our department, we're gonna publish, to start, a catalog of 10 homes, pre-vetted designs. We're working directly with Division of Fire Safety, gonna get them to check these designs up front. We are actively working with municipalities and communities to get input on these designs. And we're going to do cost engineering up front to try to make sure that these are as cost effective, given small site constraints and awkward sites and different, you might be building a home that you want it to be a starter home. You might be building a home that you want for someone to age in place. Could be for home ownership, could be for rental. Through these 10 designs, we're trying to give different opportunities to check those different boxes. So it really gives the builder a leg up where now, if you want, these are open source designs that we're gonna publish. Full construction plans, full schematics, full design, and anyone can access. So right off the top, you can save a percentage off your pre-development costs right there. You know, this is a good time where I like to tell folks, this is a tool in the toolbox. It's not the solution. Nothing that I talk about here is the solution that's gonna fix all the problems with housing, but it's another tool in the toolbox. What this catalog will allow us to do in the long term is things like, what could bulk purchasing look like in the state of Vermont to help bring costs down? Could we be bulk purchasing materials or allow developers who are utilizing these catalogs to access state contract rates to help bring down the cost of some of the materials, because we know what goes into these designs. Can municipalities be pre-approving? There are 3 municipalities that we're working with that will be pre-approving these designs, so they won't go through design review. This is just a starting point, right? We can build this out. The catalog can include larger designs at a certain point, but I think you all can see potential there. So that Homes for All initiative is encompassing a couple of our divisions. It's something we're really excited about. I won't dive, I'm switching topics here. I'll talk very, very briefly because there are a lot of venues to hear about this program, but the Community and Housing Infrastructure Program. The long and short of it is, this is an opportunity now for folks who are doing smaller projects, not big tip projects like in our downtowns, but smaller housing projects to benefit from tax increment financing. So it's a financing mechanism to pay for the infrastructure that you need in order to get units in the ground. This is going to help bring down the aggregate cost of those units. It's an incredibly effective tool. It launched in January. We're already seeing the pipeline of potential applications build out. We're really hopeful that this is going to be most effective in rural Vermont. So if you know of a project in your town that maybe is struggling with costs, know there's going to be some infrastructure investment, come talk to us and we can talk to you a bit more about how CHIP that financing model could look in that housing development. The last thing I want to talk about very briefly, I'm not going to dive into all the details of it, but back in the fall, the governor issued an executive order related to housing. And the executive order was multifaceted. It set in motion some immediate actions, changes to rules and certain regulations, asked departments to look at their fees. Where could they reduce fees? Could they defer fees so that the applicants get their permit, you don't have to pay right up front, but maybe you pay once units are in the ground. It asked agencies and departments to look at all those things. So the governor's really holding people to account, saying, get back to us. It tasked me with developing an inventory of state-owned lands that are underutilized. So in Virginia, for example, there's a big couple 100-acre parcel that's right next to their downtown. That city would love to develop housing there. So we've developed an inventory of that. What I find most exciting in that executive order is a piece that was so wonky that nobody wrote about it. And I don't blame them because it's a little dull, but it could be really exciting for people trying to get permits from the state of Vermont for housing. And it set in motion what the governor called permit modernization task force with a multidisciplinary team. What that means is the governor mandated that folks from agencies across the state of Vermont work together in a team. It's being led by folks in my agency and some of the IT folks at the state of Vermont. And the mission of this group is to say, how do we develop a singular process for permitting whereby if I'm the applicant, I'm trying to get my permits, I go to the state of Vermont. I don't go to DEC and AOT and all the different programs and historic preservation. I don't go all over the place and figure out by paying a consultant, by paying an engineer, by paying a lawyer, all the different permits I need. No, the governor's saying, agencies, it's up to you. You need to tell the applicant, you need to make it accessible and understandable through one entry point. How can the applicant go into the state of Vermont, And then we provide you a service that shows you, here are the permits you likely need based on the information you've given us. And then we connect you with all of the programs, and then all the programs can see what is the permitting process, where are they at with this agency, where are they at with the wetlands program. Right now, we put that full onus on the applicant and on their consultant to do all the communicating between the agencies, keep everything together. That's not right. It's already hard to get a permit in Vermont, whether it's local or statewide, it's hard. We shouldn't also make it a complicated spider web. So this isn't gonna be, we're not flipping a light switch here, this is gonna be a couple of years, but that team's making exciting process and progress. I've seen a prototype of what this interface could look like. And I'm gonna tell you, it's slick. If we can build this out the way that they've sketched it out, you'd go in, answer a few very basic questions about your housing project, and it would tell you, here's a list of permits you likely need, and here's how you get them. And now the agency has to work with you through this portal, and as much communication as you want to give you a transparent process. So those are some of the things that are underway. I'm gonna wrap it up there, but if folks have questions about any of that or anything that happened during the legislative session, also more than happy to talk about that.
Got a question. You talk a lot about supply side programs.
Yeah.
And I wanted to focus a minute on demand side.
Yes.
As I understand it, the main initiative is to get more people in Vermont. And, but I haven't seen as much emphasis on what kind of people you want. From my perspective, a lot of Vermont's financial challenges, economic challenges are due to the high average age, which results in high healthcare costs relative to other states, and low student enrollment, which results in a lot of empty seats and a lot of underused teachers. Is there any thought about focusing on not only supply, but on incentives to shape the demand in a way that would be most productive to improving Vermont's economic future?
Yeah, it's no secret that our demographics are scary, and that our school age population and our working age population is small and shrinking. And if we don't find a way to reverse that trend, we're in trouble. So one thing that we know is if you look at our population change, and the sort of two factors of population change are your natural population change, birth versus deaths, and how that nets out, and then it's net migration. Are more people moving here than moving out? And based on Vermont's demographics, our natural population change will be negative for the next bunch of years. It flipped negative just a few years ago, the last 4 or 5 years, and it will remain negative. We will continue to see more deaths than births in Vermont. So the only way, to your point, the only way we can reverse the demographic crisis we're in is to increase inward migration, folks moving to Vermont from other states. Now, what we have observed, so I'll answer the question two ways, macroeconomically, and then I'll answer the question programmatically. Macroeconomically, we have observed now, we now have evidence for what was pretty well proven theory, which is when there is vacancy, when we have pockets of a healthy housing market, a healthy housing economy, and availability in our housing stock, people do move to Vermont. It's actually not job availability that's constraining our population, it's housing. And surveys and polls and anecdotes have shown that really good paying employers, hospitals, schools, universities have made pretty substantial job offers in the 6 figures and not been able to land that employee here in Vermont because they can't get the housing. That's a more common occurrence when I talk to employers than, we couldn't get paid on salary. So when I go to the Upper Valley, down on that I-91 corridor, they do okay, those employers, because they're drawing from New Hampshire. So that tells me we've got a real problem here. So macroeconomically, one of the things we need to do is just we need to increase the supply. But more specifically, we've done things. The program I'm gonna highlight is the middle income homeownership development program, which we funded through VHFA, an administrative program, the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. This program was intentionally targeting middle income folks. We do a really good job with federal programs. Federal programs do a really good job of supporting and funding housing creation for lower income folks. So generally speaking, people who make 60% or less, maybe 80% or less of the area's median income. But if you make around the median income, say within 20% of it, there doesn't tend to be as much programming targeted at that. And that's often where we see our workforce struggle. We're having a hard time getting folks here. Middle income homeownership development program did both things. It did a supply side subsidy to bring down the cost of the infrastructure and build out. And then there was a second piece of the program that was on a sliding scale. The buyer would get support based on their income. So if you were 50% above median income, you could buy that home. You get the top end who could buy that home, but you just wouldn't get a subsidy. That's fine. We now got a home at a reasonable price to afford. If you made around median income or just under, you'd get a little bit of help so that you can afford that down payment in that home. So we've done things like that to try to really target the income ranges that have been most challenged in getting into the state.
Yeah, I'm just wondering though, focusing on income, the real issue to a large extent is age. That is getting working age people here and with kids who can go to schools.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of aggressive social engineering, but if there were ways to be able to incent the profile of immigrants that would most help, not just in terms of income, but in terms of their actual demographics, that'd be, maybe it's too complicated.
Basically, every population's demographics are younger than ours. But I don't know if you remember, a handful of years ago, there was a program run out of the state, it was actually run out of our agency, that did specifically offer grants
Bonuses to move in.
to move to Vermont. And it was fine. We got a handful of folks, maybe dozens. It didn't move the needle on the macro scale because there wasn't housing.
But was it open to anybody or was it targeting a certain group?
You had to have jobs, you had to be working age, and it was overwhelmingly folks in their 20s, 30s, but it hit the hip with housing.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking on what you're talking about, I think as a nation, and definitely in Vermont, the whole remote working has all been yanked back. And unfortunately, the people that migrated here after COVID and bought houses and did their things were allowed to live anywhere they wanted to do their big kid job. We just don't have big kid jobs for people, and the ones we do have here, everybody wants them in the office, no matter how remote they work, including what our governor's doing with making state employees all go back to cramped offices and buy more real estate and rent space for them when there isn't adequate room for them to be. And so there's a bigger issue there with attracting people who want to be here. You have to be able to make an income enough to pay for where you live. Even if there were houses everywhere, if you don't have proper way to have live here and work here, and if you're gonna struggle with that, it's just 2 cents on that. And while I'm speaking, to be very clear about it, I volunteer with Vermont Works for Women, and they do a Trailblazers program where they incent women to learn the trades, and they have apprenticeships and different things. And looking at these 2 programs, I think it might be interesting for your group to reach out to them and see if it's something that could build upon that, because this seems like you're gonna teach someone how to buy a property, how to get financing, how to do something next. These people are just been taught how to do the trades for themselves, and I think we could use a little diversity in boosting those groups of people up. I mean, you did a great job of saying men and women, but I feel like this program specifically puts women in trades, and if these programs are free and accessible, it would be interesting to see you work with that agency to help.
But that's a great idea. We've had a lot of success. We've been really pleasantly surprised at the demographic makeup of the folks that have been attending the in-person workshops. It has been overwhelmingly female. We've had a significant BIPOC population, where we've had folks not just in the trades come into this, but folks in all different professions. So that's been really encouraging to bolster that and sort of make sure that there's extra support for those folks who maybe like you said, can get there, but might need some additional help. A lot of times these might be newer Americans. The Land Access and Opportunity Board is a partner in this, and what they're gonna offer is more direct technical assistance. So when folks go through these, or maybe they weren't even at the stage where they can get through these courses, they just need some of the basic handholding. The Land Access Opportunity Board, we can direct them to them, and they will do some individual one-on-one support and helping folks. So I will reach out and I think there might be a few opportunities for partnership here. So that's a really great idea. Thank you.
If I can go back to the trades, these women are getting an opportunity for a lot better job, but they're at entry level. And these are the people that can't even afford rent. When in Burlington, when a single bedroom apartment is renting for $2,000 or more a month. Yeah. And these are the people that we need, build the housing that we need. And I think more attention needs to get paid to people, get people into the trades. Because I was a carpenter for 45 years, and I watched the average age of a carpenter age just about parallel with me. And we're now starting to get more interest, and Works for Women's a phenomenal program. But they are not going to be making median income when they get started in the trade. Salaries in the trades, benefits in the trades have blossomed since the pandemic. But there still isn't the housing that they need so that they can go to work and build the median income homes and the subsidized housing.
That is the sort of constraint we keep running into. It's no secret that my boss, the governor, has been since he was in the state senate, has really been trying to push CTE and trades, and I don't think he feels like we've done enough as a state to encourage folks to go into the trades. One of the reasons he's so high on that is that actually does, if we can offer more good work in the trades here in the state, that actually gives us a better opportunity to retain more Vermonters who are leaving Vermont. That's a decent amount of folks that leave are folks who still go into trades, but outside of the state.
Yeah, because they can't afford to live here.
Exactly. Yeah.
My 16-year-old son wants to be an electrician. He's in a CTE program, and his first thing was, "Mom, I can't live here. I won't be able to afford it."
Yeah.
This is a 16-year-old already deducing that he's not staying here because he'll never, and he wants to be an electrician. He wants to do the next thing. But if someone at his age in a high school program already being taught how to do this already wants to find another place where he can live more affordably, that's a pretty bleak outcome. I mean, it's just one kid's opinion, but I think that's pretty interesting because he's just starting out and he doesn't think that unless we give him our house, which I'm like, yes.
But the stats show he's not the only one with that opinion. Now on Burlington's still a huge problem in terms of the rents that it gets for the market that it is. It's not right. However, one positive is because there has been a decent uptick in building in Chittenden County, we have actually observed some rents easing in Burlington. Some of the landlords that we know aren't too thrilled about that, but that's probably a good thing.
Didn't know if you had any insight into S325.
Yes, it's on its way to the governor's desk.
But they passed it.
They did pass it, so with the passage of S325, that does repeal the road rule and tier 3 that were included in Act 181. It also has some really important cleanup of the future land use mapping process that I'm sure you've all been talking a lot about here. You all had a really good map of this way. But there's some really important cleanup in there that was also in 325. So there were a couple pieces that really mattered. A couple other pieces that we wanted to see in S325 that didn't make it in, unfortunately. But I'd say all in all, a really big step in the right direction, even if it was mostly just sort of undoing harm.
Do you know if the tier 1B increase in acreage changed?
That did not remain, well, so there is new language, so the removal of the 10 acre, that didn't stay, so 10 acres back in there, but now it looks at basically ground disturbance. It's not exactly ground disturbance, but so the parcel could be larger than 10 acres, but if the site is 10 or less.
That's a bonus anyway.
It is a step in the right direction, yeah. I've been yammering on for a while. I feel like I should get out of the way so you can have your meeting.
We haven't even got started.
An important issue for the state.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Last one, Alex, have you guys done an assessment of just looking over the next, say, 15, 20 years? In terms of combining the demographics with the housing stock that's available? And say that because we're very old. Well, as a state, we're very old, but that big demographic, 60 to 75, which I think is the largest by far in the state, you're now bumping up against the median life expectancy. So over the next 15 years, a lot of that population is gonna die. So what happens then? What happens if we build a bunch of houses? So that we can create all this stuff, and then we have all these people all of a sudden vacate their houses, and then I mean, would it be nice to be in a housing surplus?
Yeah, but that has downsides too, right?
Yeah.
As we've seen in certain markets. It's such a good question. Catherine was instrumental in a process that we underwent a couple of years ago. So every 5 years we publish what's known as the housing needs assessment, and it's a wonky document that traditionally has just been provided from us to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, just to make sure that we are keeping track of data that we need to keep track of. That is a housing needs assessment in that it asks us to project what type of production we need in order just to keep pace with the market as it exists. The legislature tasked my department with establishing targets. So the goal of the targets was A, to look out further than just 5 years. And B, it was essentially a question of, rather than just projecting need, what if we want to accomplish, to your point, some of these workforce outcomes? What if we want to drive different demographic outcomes? When we were analyzing that question, analyzing the data with the help of the Department of Labor, Kevin Chu from the Vermont Futures Project, hopefully folks have heard from Kevin, talked to Kevin. We candidly asked this question, Catherine, Charlie Baker and I, we candidly asked this question: what would a sit and wait strategy look like? So basically keep producing at roughly the same level we've been producing at, 2,500 units, maybe 3,000 units a year in Vermont. What would that look like? What it would look like is perhaps by, I want to say it was the mid 2040s, early 2040s, mid 2040s, perhaps by that decade, we would end up where the crunch would start to alleviate, perhaps. The problem is, in the 15 intervening years, we would so constrain our workforce and our economy that we would actually increase the downward spiral. So in the targets, what we tried to do is we asked the question, what if we actually want to drive different demographic outcomes and start backfilling the workforce now? And so you can see in the targets, we set a 5-year target and then a 25-year target, so 2030 and then 2050. The 2050 target is largely what all the regions use for their plan, for the regional plan. The 5-year target has a very aggressive ramp up because it was basically saying, hey, let's try to alleviate the crunch now, get people in here, to your point, get workforce in here, alleviate the crunch so that as the population of, say, baby boomers starts to fall off, we're supplementing it. I have to be very careful when I'm in a meeting with others in the cabinet and I'm talking about the baby boomer generation. falling off. That's three quarters of them, most of them, including the governor, accidentally, yeah. But real, I mean, speaking pragmatically, if we're trying to backfill that in workforce and population, we need to do it more immediately. Now, if you look at the trajectory of that 25-year target, it isn't on an annual average, it is easier. The idea being there would be sort of a ramp up in production that would then sort of ease to a more stable level. So in an ideal world, if I could wave a wand, what would happen is over the next 7 years, we produce at about 6,000 to 7,000 units per year. Don't worry, we're nowhere near that. And then we would ease off and stay stable around 4,500, 5,000 units per year. That would be the ideal state. The problem with housing economics and the housing market is it doesn't work like that. You can't just flip a switch. It takes a very long time to move markets. We're seeing good trends, but I'll be honest, there's a fear that as the pipeline of production with the federal influx that we had over the past 5 years, as that starts to dwindle and those projects are all finished up, we are worried that for a year or two, we might see a little bit of a dip. So we can't ease up, I guess is my message. You're gonna still see me in the State House, still yammering on, still standing next to the governor at the press conference saying we need to go further. And yes, your legislators will get sick of me, so if they aren't already.
Just to keep the capacity of our schools up, we're gonna need even more housing. You know, family dynamics have changed. My wife's one of 10. Her cousin, one of 10. I mean, we're not seeing families like that anymore. So now you need more houses to get the same amount of kids in the school systems. So that's also driving up the tax rate and everything else.
That's right. Yeah, to house the same number of people now, we need substantially more homes. That's part of our challenge too.
Great, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome for a critical issue put before us.
I appreciate y'all having me. I'm doing my part to help the demographics. I've got a 10-month-old at home, so I'm gonna step out. But thank you all very much for the work you're doing. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, next we turn to the minutes of the April meeting. And I guess maybe we could have a motion and a second, and then we could have a discussion with any changes. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
We'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Second?
Seconds.
Okay, any discussion, suggested changes?
Pete-
Right there on Zoom.
Hello, Peter, Bill Irwin here.
Yeah,
Hi, folks. Just wanted to ask for a change on the minutes. It's page 1 and it is line 21. The towns should be reversed there. The Borderville Road in Enosburg near the Bakersfield line.
thank you, Bill. Any other suggested changes or comments? Do the movement and the seconder agree to that suggested change?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, with that, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Yeah, one.
Great. Or, the motion carries. Next, we have commission reports, starting with an action item to be presented by Bill Irwin.
Yes, thank you, Peter. We have a project review sheet in your packet that was sent out. It's on page 9. And we have at the top, section 248 application where Green Mountain Power is requesting for a significant rebuild of the Georgia substation at 2066 Ballard Road. The reason that this is before you is because we do see this having a substantial regional impact. It impacts multiple municipalities. It improves the transmission and actually the distribution of electricity in the region. And that is our main reason for bringing it here, is that it does have a substantial regional impact. We did find that it is in conformance with our regional plan. So that is what drives this board action tonight, seeking a motion and vote on whether this project could be confirmed by the full commission as presented to you tonight.
Okay, so is there a motion
Make the motion.
to find that the project is in conformance with the regional plan? Do you need anything else in there, Bill?
No, just that it also is of substantial regional impact.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Two abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Bill. Now we'll go on, finance and operations. I guess Kirk is here.
Yeah, Kirk is traveling, the committee has a meeting scheduled to review the FY 27 budget, which will be on the June board meeting.
Okay, and then, going through the list, will there be additional comments from what's in the, packet, personnel, Bob, anything to add?
No, personnel is not met.
We are getting ready to meet.
Sometime in the future.
June 4th, I think.
Next week.
Yeah.
Is that right? So thanks for next week. Next week.
Okay, executive, in addition to what was reported in the packet, Catherine gave an update, describing the status of 181 in the legislature, the status of the LRB review, which has been, slightly postponed based on the hearing, as I understand it, and they will be taking it up soon. There's a possible, grant for a study on road fatalities in Franklin and Grand Isle County that you, reported on. And I think that was it. Transportation Advisory Committee, Barbara.
Yes, we did meet on May 14th. We had our usual, just barely 5 members for quorum. Kyle brought us up to speed on several things. It looks like the money that was set aside for the Missisquoi Causeway removal, we had encouraged the state to allow us to use projects that were transportation related and also related for the Missisquoi water basin is finally going to start moving. So there's some hope that some things are going to happen there. We have been told that, well, maybe correct me, that the list of projects, state projects, is now pretty much frozen until 2035. But we like to suggest to the state regional projects that we see as being important. So that's next meeting, we're gonna go through the list, see what towns would like to see added to it, which is another incentive for towns to start sending members to the board. And then Kyle introduced us to a very interesting state website. It's called The Transparency, all one word, .vermont.gov. And it shows you every project that V-Trans has going on through the state of Vermont. It's an interactive map. Click on it. Good way to keep track of the fact that even though we feel like we're not seeing as many projects as we'd like, when you look at the scope of the entire state, they're busy. They're very busy. So it's kind of fun to look at. And that's probably about it.
Thank you. Brownfields, I guess Chip is in here.
Sure. Not here, but there's a report in that.
Anything to add on plan and policy, Lori? Okay, Vermont Economic Progress Council, Barbara.
There is a meeting tomorrow that I won't be able to attend, but I didn't know if others might be interested in, going to it. The link would be at the BEPC webpage off of the accd.vermont.gov website. And it's gonna be an overview of the CHIP program as well as executive director updates. So I think that, for anyone who would like a little bit more information, a little more direct guidance on that, it could be an interesting thing to hear. It doesn't look like they have any actual projects, so you won't be sent off into limbo land while they have their executive session. But unfortunately, I won't be able to attend, so.
Great, thank you, Barbara. Rural community transit, Kathleen, Healthy Roots Advisory, Marianne.
We didn't meet this month.
And Northwest Regional Foundation, Kirk isn't here. Anyone from the staff want to mention anything on what they're doing? I will go ahead.
I will give a couple of, add a little bit more to what you mentioned. So the Land Use Review Board did have a hearing last week to hear comments and consider giving the approval to our regional plan. There was an issue with their hearing notice in that the online link wasn't entirely correct. So out of an abundance of caution and respect for the open meeting law, which not gonna fly, they decided to extend the hearing to tomorrow afternoon, where they'll be giving people an additional opportunity to participate. And then we're hopeful they will adjourn immediately after that and give us a decision as soon as possible. And we'll let all of you know as soon as we do get a decision from them. And then I did want to add a couple more additional things that are in S325, the bill that Doug asked about. In addition to some really good changes to the definitions of the land use areas that we use for our regional plans that we work very hard on, there's two other things that we worked to support in the bill. One is there'll be a new regional plan amendment process, which is streamlined, which will just require one hearing and then a board vote. So it will be much more streamlined rather than the 6-month adoption process that you all went through with this last plan adoption. So that is a huge improvement and opportunity, especially as we have towns looking to take advantage of the Tier 1B at 250 or making their own changes locally that we want to respect in the plan. And then the other thing it includes is an expiration date extension. So if your municipal plan expires in 2026, you get an automatic extension to the end of 2027. So that way, if the town is wanting to take advantage of these Act 250 benefits, but their plan is going to expire, it gives you a little window where you're not going to lose them at the local level, because you need to have a plan in place in order to have them. So those are a couple of great things I just wanted to know as well, remember in that bill.
Okay, and I'd like to just say that in terms of staff work, projects that they're helping on South Hero, it's just an amazing job, both Greta Brunswick and North Brown. We've got 3 major projects and they are really hitting it out of the park and we're really appreciative. Okay, next is the energy program overview. Marlena.
I think I was a little over enthusiastic, so we'll see. I'll try. So I'm Marlena Flintine, the Energy and Climate Planner. So just to kind of ground the conversation, I included the from our energy plan, because that, guides my work in general. It's really the foundation of our plan. Basically increase of efficiency, decrease of fossil fuels, increase of renewables, and increase local power in multiple ways. So increase local energy committees, food production, and renewable energy production. So those are kind of the underpinnings of our energy and energy work. So one of the key roles or key pieces we do around energy planning. So we have our enhanced energy plan, and then we also assist municipalities with energy planning and specifically enhanced energy planning. So Act 174 lays out a set of optional planning standards that provide kind of additional say at the state level around renewable energy generation siting. So there's kind of a carrot for municipal and regional participation in this. And the standards are around a lot of different things. There's mapping, there's data, there's looking at kind of current use, and then targets for the future as well as generation. So we have kind of a municipal template that we worked that we make sure it hits all the key points, but is customized for data and mapping, and then also to really fit the priorities and the different municipalities. So the energy plan for St. Albans City looks different than the energy plan for Franklin, and touches on the different needs and concerns. So we use that as kind of a starting point, and then we're into it. And we also work a lot with the public service department to kind of on the back end to give feedback on they're actually, looking at updating those standards. And so we're able to bring back feedback from communities, things that we're seeing, and work with the public service department. We also provide municipal technical assistance on energy projects. And so that looks like a couple different things. There's assistance with grant applications and implementation, and also participating in groups. So that's energy committees. You're good. Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't know if I we have the St. Albans City Energy Committee, the Swanton Energy Committee, which I believe is on a bit of a hiatus. But we also work with Walk Bike St. Albans, and there's a Franklin Grant working group. So we try and embed ourselves kind of across the board because energy reaches into so many different goings on. But so with grant applications and implementation, some of that is like specific programs, like there's a community tree planting grant that a couple communities were interested in. And so we kind of helped with applications and then also with the implementation. But there's also grants at the state level that RPCs assist in administering in general. So one of them, Municipal Energy Resilience Program, I'll touch on a little bit more. But we've been, kind of the bridging the gap between the state and municipalities and making sure that we're able to provide assistance and really increase the capacity at the municipal level. I just wanted to touch on a few programs, MERT being one of them, because this is a multi-year and really big, exciting program that we've been working on. So it's it's administered by Buildings and General Services, and it's specifically aimed at increasing efficiency and reducing costs in municipal buildings. So there are a few different phases. There's these mini grants that are $4,000, and municipalities can use them in a couple different ways. It's really for like education, engagement, or capacity building. And then there were energy assessments on municipal buildings and up to $500,000 for efficiency upgrades. We had 7 municipalities get mini grants, 11 received assessments, most of those on multiple buildings, and then 8 received funding, also most of those on multiple buildings. So this has been a really exciting, influx of funding into our municipalities, and specifically, improving the efficiency, cost effectiveness, and comfort of our municipal buildings. So that's been something that we've been partnering with our municipalities on and really trying to relieve some of the capacity constraints. Like it's a heavy lift, but it's also a really exciting, exciting program. I wanted to highlight the energy efficiency and conservation block grant because this was an example with funding, how it's, you know, kind of shifted and things have turned. This was one of the places that we kind of adapted and pivoted. So we originally had a county-wide designation, the set aside amount of funds that got axed. And so, but the state had some funds they were offering to municipalities, so we partnered with St. Albans City to reduce the scope a little, but do similar projects. And so there's kind of three portions of that. We're doing a transportation needs assessment, and looking at what could kind of come out of that, what implementation steps would come next. And we're working with the Franklin Grand Isle Transportation Working Group. That's a really awesome group of stakeholders that are looking at what are the gaps right now, who is not being. And so this kind of organically came out of that. We helped St. Albans City write an enhanced energy plan. And then we're also working with the Northwest Career Technical Center on training models of green technology for students to be able to learn how to install and maintain heat pumps, solar panels, and charging. You know, this new wave of technology that really needs workers, as we were talking about. And so making sure our students are in the best place to really be able to access those jobs and do those jobs. This is, I'm gonna skip this. Basically, we, Regional Navigators was a program through Great Plains Institute and National Renewable Energy Lab. We got funds to offer technical assistance to our municipalities and really tailor it to specific energy. So we worked with Isla Mock on doing a pretty targeted funding search for, they were looking at building upgrades, building transition, and interested in a few different community energy projects. So we looked at that and how we could make that work and what that would look like for the community. In Swanton Village, we looked at the necessary hydro repairs that are coming up and adding capacity there and also doing the funding search. And then we subcontracted with NVDA to assist Coventry with an energy plan and engaging with Casella on landfill related opportunities. You know, the one landfill in the state and really, you know, has a wide impact. So looking at how what opportunities could come out of that for positive.
Can I just ask you, is that for energy generation at that site?
Yes, it was a broad conversation, so it was looking at just how they could be partners, Coventry and Casella, and they brought them in on the energy plan process. So there wasn't one specific goal in mind, it was really like creating a collaboration and looking at the energy generation step. Part of the conversation. And then to address this is my baby. We're hosting our 4th annual build. This is a nonprofit that is based in Maine. It serves all of New England, and they're volunteer-led community builds. So it builds insulating window inserts for residents, including free inserts for low-income residents. It's 1 week in the fall, volunteers get together and build these inserts. We as a region, we did hundreds, but we built hundreds of inserts. Each year it's over 100, and the majority of them have been worked. So that's, I think, a real point of pride for the commission to be serving our residents really directly and, you know, finding the touch point where it's both energy efficiency, but it's also really working on equity and affordability.
Can I ask how you determine or discover or get the word out to people that this is available to them? How you determine your customers?
We've done a lot of different things. Nora actually has some.
These flyers that you can take
Yes.
with you when you go tonight.
We have tried to get them into a lot of physical locations, and we also, it's shared on Front Porch Forum and Facebook and kind of all over, but we've tried to really make sure there's physical copies out. What is it?
And the energy committee is gonna be tabling too at the farmers market
So
a
fantastic.
few times this year.
And we have also shared it through like existing community resources, so places that families receiving assistance already kind of are in contact, and so, you know, to try and make sure that people with assistance can receive this. And just. Yeah, the next one. Sorry. Just thinking about, you know, what are we kind of facing both good and bad? I think obviously the reduced federal funding has been big, like, okay, we need to look at, how do we get creative and how do we proactively ensure that we're still addressing energy and climate in our region? And I think that, as one of the advantages, energy is so integrated into everything we do. I mean, working in transportation and food use, there's so many places that energy can addressed and discussed, and so I think, you know, it has not gone away. Also limited capacity for municipal implementation. I think a lot of the time energy projects and programs are like bottom of the list after just trying to get everything that needs to be done. And so finding ways that we are able to assist our municipalities as much as possible and not make this another burden on their plate. That's something that we've been working really hard on, is like ensuring that we can take on that extra burden, so that it doesn't bar any municipalities from participating. And as the members who participated in the energy plan update know, there's some issues around like data being imperfect and some cumbersome requirements in energy planning that have been tough. And I'm really hoping that in this new update of the standards, that's going to this. Yeah, and we have formed some really positive working relationships with a lot of different groups and down to individuals. Window dressers have been really great for that. So that's been really exciting to get to work with a lot of different people and groups that we wouldn't necessarily work with in other ways, like the tech center. So it's been really nice to kind of expand NRPC's reach in the community. And then the group's role, which is, you know, updating the plan, but also sharing out any programs that feel like good fits for your community. The one that always comes to mind is like there's recharging opportunities that come up and they change year to year, and just trying to get, you know, like, are there community locations that would be good fits? Is this something that would be of interest? And I'm always happy to attend or participate in any, you know, municipal groups or projects that feel like they might be relevant or could use assistance. So that's, I'm here and I'm looking forward to any collaboration.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. Any questions or comments? I have to say that since I've been on the commission, the scope of the energy related work is absolutely blossomed. It's gone off in so many different directions, and the real credit to you for all that you've been done. Thank you. Any thoughts? Okay, We'll move on to the last substantive item, which is an update to the Title VI plan, which, as I understand it, is made necessary because of a potential federal highway department grant, which requires an update to the plan. And the changes have been identified in a version that's in the packet tonight. The executive committee had approved it at their meeting last week and recommends that it be approved here by the full commission. So since it's an action item, perhaps we could entertain the motion in a second and we can have conversation. Is there a motion to approve the revised Title VI plan?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Okay, any discussion or comments, or Catherine, do you want to add anything?
I think you summed it up nicely.
Sounds like we're ready for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. And finally, commissioner announcements.
I would just say I did go to the hearing last week and it was awfully impressive seeing our commission put forward their presentation on the plan. And I was sorry that it couldn't be closed that day, but I think it's better to not have there be a little hiccup later. I think that tomorrow is almost pro forma that it's gonna open in.
So I guess I can have one question. By delaying till tomorrow, are we still first in the state to get one?
Yeah.
Assuming it gets approved.
Yes, two other RPCs have submitted their plans in the interim week, but we will be first to decision.
And I guess I should highlight that for the previous hearing that I went to, there were other counties there watching how it went, because they're all waiting to see how we set the stage and Len and what they were gonna get in trouble with before they had to do their own.
There was a bit of chitin and exposure there.
We were playing guinea pig for everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Copernicus, the first one always gets the arrows.
Not the cupcakes and stickers and
Yeah.
like stars.
Any other commissioner announcements? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Have a good evening.